Hello everyone, this is Gene and I'm back with another video. So first of all, thank you all so much for the positive reception on some of my recent videos, in particular the Gotham High videos. I got a shout out from Tristan at Nerdette's Newsstand, so thank you so much. I've also seen an uptick in my subscriptions, so again, thank you all, whether this is your first video or your 100th. I hope that you continue to enjoy the content. So, what am I discussing today? What I'm discussing is a comic that came out, I believe, last month called Marvel's Voices. Now, I did read the comic, I just didn't get a chance to review it when it initially came out. Given that we're now all pretty much locked down thanks to the beer bug, Corona-chan, I figured I might as well double back and cover this, especially since this deals with the law and themes of justice. And I used to be a paralegal major, and I still have some of my old paralegal books, and I do a lot of reading still on the law and procedure and whatnot. So this is a topic that is, I guess, near and dear to my heart, both from actually from three different perspectives: educational, professional, and personal. And given that the story involves She-Hulk, there's another issue, another character near and dear to my heart. So, Marvel's Voices was a collection of different stories written by different people. Apparently, Marvel's Voices started out as a podcast, and they were basically trying to take the podcast and somehow turn it into, I guess, like a short story anthology. The best way I can describe it is that these stories are like 1-2 pages long at best. So they're more like the comic version of Haiku. Some were good, some not so good. One involved a giant spider, and I am not reading that again because I am arachnophobic. In particular, there were actually two stories involving Wolverine. One of them written by, I believe, Method Man, the rapper. And it was surprisingly good. I was actually really impressed. So I think in time I'll double back and review that story. But the story that I want to talk about in this video is She-Hulk in Ceremony. Nope. No, I'm actually not going to be talking about that story because that's a story from like the late 80s, early 90s, written by Dwayne McDuffie. If you're a Static Shock fan, he's the guy who created Static Shock. And this story was actually interesting, and She-Hulk was heroic, so it certainly can't be that, because we don't have that anymore in modern day comics. Actually, it's She-Hulk in punishment. And having read this, I felt punished. I felt very, very, very punished reading this. Now, let's look over the very small creative team of Roxane Gay, who's the writer, Brittany L. Williams, who's the artist, and Rachel Rosenberg, who's the colorist. Now, I want to focus in on Roxane Gay in particular because she wrote this. Now, according to Wikipedia, Roxane Gay, who interestingly enough actually is lesbian, but I guess that's just an interesting coincidence of her last name, is an American writer, professor, editor, and social commentator. Gay is the author of the New York Times best-selling essay collection Bad Feminist, as well as the short story collection Ayiti, the novel An Untamed State, the short story collection Difficult Women, and the memoir Hunger. So, given the history that writers with her background have in comics, I'm certain, I am absolutely positive that this will be a carefully thought out and researched and nuanced haiku of a comic's tale. Do you hear the sarcasm in my voice? It's there for a reason. So anyway, it starts out with the end of a court case. It seems like judgment has been passed. The judges ruled. The jury has decided what the punishment is. And Jen says that she wishes she could have done more for her client. Her client says that I'm assuming the defendant in this situation, that the client, that he got 18 months, that's better than nothing. Men like him never pay for what they do to women like me. Number one, we're never told exactly what he did. We're not told exactly what crime he was charged with, and I'll explain later why I take great issue with that. But there's something I want to explain about the terms of plaintiff and defendant. Plaintiff is the party who initiates a lawsuit, also known as an action, before a court. By doing so, the plaintiff seeks a legal remedy. If this search is successful, the court will issue judgment in favor of the plaintiff and make appropriate court order. For example, an order for damages. The defendant is a person accused of committing a crime in criminal prosecution or a person against whom some type of civil relief is being sought in a civil case. Do you notice how with the terms plaintiff and defendant, you don't see judgments of morality? There's no plaintiff is good, defendant is evil, because it doesn't work like that in the actual court of law. You can have an innocent defendant. You can have a guilty plaintiff. That's why issues are brought to the court for the judge and the jury to make an ideally impartial judgment and decision, and then remedy the matter. Right? Something that we often see on TV, especially, is that the plaintiff is almost always the good guy, and the defendant is almost always the bad guy. In truth, the way it works is that it's simply a matter of who files first. If I take action to file a lawsuit against someone, I am the plaintiff, they are the defendant, because I'm basically accusing them of something and now they have to defend themselves. If someone files a lawsuit against me, now they're the plaintiff and I'm the defendant. It is not a judgment of morality. And as an attorney, Jen's biggest concern is really about winning the case, which she did, as we saw in the earlier panel. They got what they wanted. This man, who was most likely the defendant in this case, is going to jail for 18 months. It's the result that they wanted. Now, the plaintiff, right, her client can be disappointed in that all she wants, but it's still a matter of a judgment has been passed. Jen won the case. Jen being upset would make more sense if she had lost the case. But anyway, here's something else I wanted to point out, and this is in particular regarding Jennifer's history. Jennifer, as a criminal defense lawyer, she has defended Dr. Michael Morbius in his trial for vampiric killings. And from the Marvel Wikia, it says here about Jen, by expert attorney, it says, extremely intelligent, the She-Hulk is a skilled and experienced lawyer. She has won many cases proving various civilians, costumed heroes, and even villains innocent. Law degree. Now it goes over her going to UCLA and Harvard. But at the end here it says, she has shown great versatility in her legal practice, representing criminal defendants, corporations, and even domestic violence victims. Jen has a history of defending the accused. So in other words, it would have been more true to her personality and her story if she had been defending the guy and was not representing the woman. But we can't have continuity and, good storytelling and an exploration of themes in current day comics. Can we? Roxane Gay. Can we? We can't have that these days. Can we, Marvel? But anyway, later on, Jen is in bed with this guy. I'm hoping it's her boyfriend. I hope he's not a one-night stand. We're not told what his name is. But he asks her why she can't sleep. He knows that she won the case. So she says that it's not winning when a man only gets 18 months for assaulting a woman who has worked for him for 3 years cleaning up his messes. And here's where I get very frustrated. The law has very demanding and exacting definitions for crimes. We don't know what type of assault this man supposedly committed against this woman. This story is literally asking us to listen and believe because Jen defended a brown woman. She must be right. No. If there's one thing that you learn about the law, it's that the law can be wrong at times. And I've brought up examples of that in other videos about how the law was influenced by the social pressures of the day, oftentimes regarding race, and a jury of peers, right? For example, an all-white jury convicting a black teenager and sending him to his death. Yes, that did happen. And it was a miscarriage of justice. So if you're going to tell me that this man, excuse me, if you're going to tell me that this man assaulted this woman and somehow him getting a year and a half in jail of all places is not enough, you need to explain the crime to me. You need to explain to me exactly what happened and why and what the legal definition is, especially for assault, because there are so many different definitions for assault. There is assault with a deadly weapon. There is simple assault. So what I did was I looked up a website, and this is just some of the assault crimes, and this is actually a very watered down, simplified list. This is not the actual penal code. This comes from a website in California that deals with criminal defense, right? But here's what they list, right? I've seen the actual penal code. It's much wordier and very complex. So this is a very simplified version. Now I chose California because Jen most likely has her law license in California. She went to UCLA, and most likely that's where she practices. So that's why I chose LA. The state or setting of the story is never given, so I'm giving it a setting. Especially since Jen is at work here, I would assume it's happening in some county, in some district in California. But anyway, here are some of the assault crimes in California. You have simple assault. You have aggravated assault. You have assault with a deadly weapon. You have battery causing great bodily injury. You have assaulting a police officer. You have battery. You have resisting an executive officer. So this is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different versions, right? Or examples of assault. That's why we need to know what exactly is meant by he assaulted her, right? Or rather, it says here that he got 18 months for assaulting a woman who worked for him for years cleaning up his messes. What type of assault? Was it a simple assault? Because a simple assault is basically a threat, right? It's a threat, and having the means necessary to actually what's what I'm looking for? I guess act on that threat. For example, if someone's like 6'4", 200 pounds, and they say I'm gonna beat the living hell out of you, and you're like 5 foot nothing, 100 pounds of nothing, right? You have very real reason to fear for your safety. That's assault, even if the person never actually put hands on you. Battery is when people actually touch you. And believe it or not, battery can range from anything from an unwanted touch, and not even necessarily a sexual unwanted touch, just an unwanted touch. For example, someone like taps you on your shoulder. If you didn't want that, and you made it clear to the person you didn't want that, that can technically be a case of battery. But it can range from anything from someone tapping you on the shoulder, technically, to someone punching you in the face. So there are varying levels, right, of assault, is what I'm trying to point out here. So given that the man got 18 months, I tried to guesstimate which version of assault he most likely was convicted of, because obviously Roxane Gay couldn't be bothered to. And what I was able to guesstimate was that he most likely is guilty of felony battery. most likely. And the reason why I say that is because of this definition here. Right? It says here toward the bottom that if charged, which of course is general battery, if charged as a misdemeanor, the defendant can be sentenced to county jail for up to 1 year. If it is charged as a felony, the defendant can be sentenced to state prison for 16 months, 2 years, or 3 years. So given that the defendant was sentenced to 18 months, my best guesstimation is that he was convicted of felony battery. Again, that's a guesstimate. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm just taking the very sparse information available and making an educated guess. Because I actually do this thing called research. But anyway, continuing. We then get to the next day, and we see the man in the paddy wagon, right, about to go to jail, and She-Hulk runs up on the police car, punches the car, right, and then pulls the criminal out of the paddy wagon through the back and says, "Your victim wants a few minutes alone with you before you get to prison. She's the one you should be afraid of." Thank you. Thank you, Roxane Gay. She-Hulk is probably going to go to jail for the rest of her life for this stunt. Let's see here. Let's see here. She's breaking a criminal out of police custody. That's illegal. She just busted up their car. That's illegal. She has at best severely injured, if not outright killed, at least 2 officers in the front of the car with this stupid stunt. That's illegal. That is most assuredly illegal. She put herself, these 2 police officers, her client, and the criminal, not to mention the general public, at risk with this stupid stunt, and that's illegal. So thank you. Jen's gonna go to jail for the rest of her natural life. Thank you, Roxane freaking Gay. Thank you for not doing your research. I'm calm. Now here's the thing. She-Hulk has actually done this in the past. She did this as Savage She-Hulk. But here's the difference. When she did this, she was trying to stop criminals who had escaped the law. She was trying to stop criminals from getting away. And because, she put people's lives in danger with this stunt, guess what happened? The police came to arrest her, right? Because there's this thing called consequences. Consequences which are never met in this story because the writer could not give 1 iota of a damn. I'm calm. I swear I'm calm. Anyway, I wanted to focus on this part here because this part, it really got under my skin, right? Let's take a look at her chest. I know it's not much of one there, but let's take a look. You see that emblem? You see that S right there? Reminds you of something? I don't know. I think it's very reminiscent of something. Now, I know some would say, well, it's S for she. It's the She-Hulk. Yes, I know all that. But here's the thing. That S, because of Superman, also stands for hope, right? And She-Hulk herself is supposed to stand for justice. She is supposed to be Lady Justice. That is supposed to be what motivates her in what she does. Whether she is Jennifer Walters, regular woman who happens to be a defense lawyer, or She-Hulk, superheroine. She is supposed to be motivated by justice, by a strong sense of justice. When the freaking Punisher shows more restraint and has more morality than Lady Justice, you have a problem. This comic is an insult to my intelligence on so many levels. If we can even call it a comic. This story, I should say. This haiku of a comic is insulting on so many levels. It insults my intelligence just as a person who has the privilege to be able to read. It insults my intelligence as a comic book reader. It insults my intelligence as a She-Hulk fan. It insults my intelligence as someone who has some understanding and knowledge and study of the law. This type of story never should have went to print. I don't know who the hell the editor was, and I don't care. It could have been Sobolski himself. If you allow this to get printed, you deserve to be flippin' fired from your job if you allow something this egregious to be printed. I think the last time I was this angry, Matt Rosenberg wrote about the Bronx. But anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I'll see you all on the next one. I'm working on a few reviews and other videos, but I just wanted to get this one finished up. So I will see you all around. Have a good day or night. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside. Don't go crazy. See you around. Bye.